Hello, everyone. Today we're going to talk about, guess what? Crystals. You can see I have a plate full on my little avatar lap here, but it's not just any crystals. We're going to be talking about lithium crystals. And will be reading to you from 1988 information from my source material. And so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to begin to read, and of course I will be commenting throughout. And so bear in mind I'm reading to you from back in the past, from 1988. After Thoth's information concerning the Ark and the Temple of Sin, that's S-I-N, the Temple of Sin was atop Mount Sinai. It actually means the moon. It's not sin like in sinning. It has to do with the temple of the moon. And the cutting of the stones for the temple of Senna had been given to me. After this had been given to me, I was sent unsolicited a book entitled Lithium and Lithium Crystals, Nature in Harmony, by Haroldine. The publisher had sent this excerpt that they had previously sent me a copy of another one of their books on radionics. Since I did not do book reviews and was involved with getting the material for this issue together, I started to put the lithium book aside among a lot of other unread material. Just as I began to toss it upon the pile, Thoth came through like a thunderbolt and saying in effect, read that book. It will open a new door for you, as lithium is the element that bonds the physical plane to the etheric plane and creates the passage between the two. Suddenly I became very interested in this book, even though I had had no previous knowledge as to what lithium even was, although the word was vaguely familiar to me at the time. When I began reading Lithium, the book, I found what Thoth had said to be within its pages. But Thoth had also told me that lithium was the main element that composed the Ark of Grace. And this is the sacred On. Let's move forward in time a moment. The sacred On is now in its thresholding chamber within the Creston the Stone Mountain in Crestone, Colorado. And we'll go through all the story again. All of you've probably been following me along. That's where I lived for 17 years ago, and where I'm moving back to in February. It's the Ascension, it's the crown chakra of the Ascension Temple, and it is the retreat of Thoth, and it is where now the sacred On resides. So we go back to 1988, and we're saying here that at least at that time, lithium was the main element that composed the Ark of Grace. Now, I'm sort of checking in with Thoth right now to see if that's still the case, because the Ark is changing. You know, it's transforming in different ways, but I'm receiving that lithium still plays a strong part in the makeup of the Ark. It may have transformed into higher states of that component, but it's still there. So I continue reading here. This I didn't find in the book, of course, about the Ark, but I found a great deal of correlated material that was fascinating. To begin with, Haroldine relates in her lithium book that lithium is, quote, nature's lightest metal and is the first solid matter listed on the periodic chart and appears to be the primary structure, foundation, base of all other matter in solid form. She continues to say that lithium in its most pure form looks like a white powdery substance, and it is never found alone in nature, but in a combination with other elements described as lithium salts. I can't help but wonder if this white powdery substance that lithium is in its pure form is somehow related to, of course, the Ethereum gold, the white powdery, uh, substance of that nature. I do not receive that they are the same thing, but they have a strong relationship. Lithium can also be found in crystals. There are 3 known groupings for crystals: silicon, which is quartz, carbon, which is diamond, and lithium. Whereas quartz crystals may be programmed by the mind, lithium crystals are already programmed by nature. Unlike the silicon family, they are also self-cleansing of imbalanced or negative energy fields and forms. Heraldine states, lithium crystals do not give energy to the human. Rather, the lithium crystals act as a non-invasive method of achieving balance for the individual by removing barriers and blocks from the physical body, wherein all incompleted emotional trauma is stored. The removal of these barriers allows the individual to have more access to his or her own energy supply for the natural process of recycling as nature intended. Now that's the completion of the quote of Heraldine, and I go on to say, lithium is a natural element of the human body, and in food can be found most abundantly in lemons, followed by limes. It is also in seaweed, that would account for much of the light properties of algae products now on the market. The homeopathic 13th cell salt is lithium beryllium and was discovered in 1985 by William G. Reimer from his research with the golden sea crystal containing lithium, beryllium, beryllium and gallium. Now, this golden sea crystal, I used to own one, and I have no idea what happened to it. But Heraldine actually sent it to me because Heraldine and I became pals. Well, pen pals in those days, not computer pals, but pen pals. Okay, to continue, from Lithium and Lithium Crystals by Heraldine, quote, sometimes referred to as an etheric element, lithium brings light into the physical body through the spleen. The spleen in turn nourishes the entire physical body, directly bringing energy and strength to the thymus gland. The immune system of a human being is directly connected with both the spleen and the thymus gland. With adequate lecithin, that's another tricky word, lecithin, available in the body, one is able to transmute the necessary daily requirement for lithium. The use of lecithin, oil, granules, or capsules can provide an excellent source of bioelemental lithium supplement. An excellent food supplement called coenzyme Q10, CoQ10, is another excellent source of bioelemental lithium. It's also a very expensive source. Many mineral drinking waters contain trace amounts of lithium, though seldom labeled as such. Extending outward from the earth approximately, we're still quoting from Heraldine here. Extending outward from the earth approximately 1,300-mile radius in distance, there exists a thin membrane-type sheath that entirely envelops our planet. This appearance is quite similar to the thin invisible membrane that contains and surrounds the yolk of a raw egg. Since early grade school students have been taught our Earth's immediate atmosphere is composed of 20% oxygen, 78% nitrogen, and 2% noble or inert gas. Ideally, this balance must be maintained to afford some of the particular life forms on our planet. The membrane sheath is not stationary, rather continually pulsing up and down, in and out, in paced rhythmic motion. Interplanetary lithium constantly filters through this sheath as needed to contain the pressure that maintains the oxygen, nitrogen, noble gases ratio balance for the Earth's atmosphere and floats downward. This fallout material mainly collects towards the North and South Pole through portions sprinkle invisibly downward, also to the land and sea masses of the entire planet. During specific seasons of the Earth year, this condition becomes more active and becomes visible to the naked eye because of the heavy concentration. It is referred to as the northern southern lights or the aurora borealis. Wow, think of that. The aurora borealis is lithium, as a result of the lithium, in other words, a chemical reaction. It is referred to as I read that. This is one of nature's systems for continual vital energy and mineral nourishment for the planet. As usual, I've not read this probably since 1988, so I'm reading it along with you. I like to do it that way, even though it causes me to, have to backtrack on sentences and things. If I practiced it, it wouldn't so much. I prefer to read it along with you because I've forgotten it. And it kind of brings up, an interesting, synchronization. To continue with, now that's the end of Harolding's quote for the moment, and I'm saying, Thoth has stated in the past that the northern southern lights were a reflection of the inner Earth sun trapped in the magnetic currents of the polar openings. However, this new information is not contradictory, at least so Thoth now tells me, as he relates that it is this lithium fallout that carries the charge of the inner sun into visibility within its crystallic and etherically sensitive particles. Now we return to Harolding. This is quoting from her again. One could actually state that the interplanetary lithium is the essence ether form carrying water to the essence ether form that's carrying water to the geosphere. The element lithium is able to interact with normally inert nitrogen. Lithium reacts vigorously with water and readily transmutes into other elements, chiefly sodium. This is especially now I'm coming back to me again. This is especially interesting to me since my first mission by my sources was to move to Salt Lake City, a place I'd never been, but was to live there 4 times thus far in the ensuing years. I was then told how important salt sodium was in recycling energies of the planet. Now let us review some known lithium crystals. 2 of the more commonly available are kunzite and tourmaline. Harolding states that tourmaline is the second fastest conductor of electricity upon the planet, being surpassed only by the human mind. She writes that black tourmaline contains all the color rays of the rainbow, including gold. Thoth tells me tourmaline, especially black, is an alchemical stone, and that the esoteric philosopher's stone, although a science, was also embodied, its known knowledge infused, within a rare black tourmaline from the inner earth. It is possible, so Thoth says, to use the black tourmaline in reversing the charge of metal, M-E-T-A-L, to its purest form, which is gold. But as I understand it, this requires much more than possessing a good piece of tourmaline. Thoth speaks of kunzite as being heart-mind centered, allowing the meeting of the heart and mind through a central flaming of the spirit. In other words, it radiates the intelligence of love rather than the impulse of it. It radiates the intelligence of love rather than the impulse of it. Another rare lithium crystal is lepidolite. All lithium soothes and aligns the soul-body system, but lepidolite is especially effective in the relaxation of the etheric body, expediting out-of-body experiences and interplane harmony within the soul-body system. There's also royal azale. Now, when I just now Googled royal azale, I came up with sugilite. So sugilite is apparently the name for what was once called royal azale. I've looked and looked, and apparently it is. Once in a while I'll see sugilite/royal azale, but mostly it's just, ooh, look at that, a sugilite crystal skull. Isn't that pretty? So that's what we have here. So let's read about Royal Azale Ocosugilite. Heraldine states that this crystal is, to quote her, activated with the spleen area assists the interconnection contact to again activate the thymus gland, youth gland, which greatly dissolves excess friction and supports whole nervous system. But the most exciting lithium crystal of all appears to be the golden C. That's like capital C. Now this, when I Googled it, this is the only picture I could find of an actual, apparently, it says by golden sea structured water. If you click on the visit page, you come up with this. And before we get to reading that, we're going to continue in my material here to see what it says. On the surface of this planet, this crystal has been found in what Heraldine describes as a freak deposit of nature. Thoth says that there are more deposits which will open up in the future, and that this crystal, while not commonplace, is much more evident within the inner earth in both soft and hard forms. Heraldine and her researchers of Lithium Labs Ltd. have discovered that golden sea will align all 7 chakras within 24 hours or less when worn on the body. She reveals that it radiates pure golden light and can rid the aura of all negative attachments, including actual negative forms, releasing them into the light. She lists many other benefits of golden sea, but in a few words, it seems to be the ultimate crystal for everything from warts to spiritual unity. Now, I want to state here that I got to know Heraldine. We even spoke on the phone several times. And I'm fairly sure she's no longer living. It's possible she is, but she'd have to be pretty old because I was in my 30s and she was what I thought was an old lady, which is probably around my age now. Anyway, I felt that Heraldine was the real deal. She was a researcher. She wasn't channeling. Well, I don't know. She might have gotten some channel information on this. I don't know, but she was testing all this stuff out. She had machines and she had, she was a scientist. She was kind of like a la Tesla, and doing things on that level. Not that level, but in that bracket, up there somewhere. So I really liked what she had to say, trusted it, and also, of course, it did correlate with what Thoth was telling me even before Heraldine came along in some aspects. So, to read on about the Golden Sea in my text here, Golden Sea crystals, Thoth states, operate under the archangelic vibration of Michael. It was a golden sea in the form of a golden jasmine, subterranean crystal that was fashioned into the archangel stone, which has been written about in previous issues of the source. It was made clear to me, however, that the archangel stone is a knowledge, a being, and a function which was infused into a particular crystal. The archangel stone is a crystal object was set upon a golden staff which was attached to the ark of grace. When Moses parted company with the grace ark and he was given the staff to take with him, but told not to attach it to the ark of karma. He didn't, but an overzealous young priest did. There was quite a discharge, killing several people, maybe more than several. As a result, the karma ark was not destroyed, nor was the crystal, but the staff was burnt to a crisp. Thus the archangel stone went on with the Exodus, but without its all-important staff. It is this archangel stone, so Thoth has related in past issues of the source, that the Antichrist, now a teenager, is seeking. That was in the 80s. The archangel Michael, though, through some form of embodiment, is trying to get to it first. A strange Star Trek sounding scenario, but Thoth has stuck to the story for several years now. Well, I'm putting it in kind of simplistic terms, but there seems to be a seeking of this by both dark and light. Now, since this time, Thoth has spoken about the Chinamati as being one of the Chinamati energy stones as being this, which doesn't say that it isn't a golden jasmine crystal. Um, we're dealing with an energy experience here that we don't really understand. Certainly, I don't. And all of these stones change form, they change dimensions, they change energy components as they go along, just like the Ark of the Covenant does, what we are calling our sacred Ark of On. So it's very difficult to pinpoint and say, oh, well, came from a meteorite that Thoth is calling, that Thoth relates to the Chinamati. This comes from the inner earth, and this is a golden sea crystal. Well, the golden sea jasmine crystal, which is different from the golden sea we're seeing in this picture here. It's related, but not the same. So what is the Chinamati? Does it have golden sea properties to it? Yes, I would imagine so. So I don't have the answer to that, but I know that I know that it all comes together somehow. I just know it, but I'm not exactly sure how. It's kind of one of those mysteries of life, or mysteries of the mysteries. So apparently, I'm going to skip that. Now we go on to the Golden Sea. Jasmine is a hard version of the Golden Sea. The hard versions are found only in the inner earth and are a combination of carbon and lithium, meaning that they are a crossover formation. The hard lithium crystals have not only the left and right polarity axis, as do the soft, but contain a dimensional axis as well. Lithium is the only element created by nature that affords a directional rotation for cell of both left and right spin. Now that is heraldry. That last sentence comes from heraldry. Let me read it again. Lithium is the only element created by nature that affords a directional rotation for cells of both left and right spin. I'm going to pause a moment here because I want to go to Thoth about something. Okay, well, he's saying that the reason these golden jasmine, golden sea crystals are found so prevalently in the inner earth, is because they are first matter. They're coming right out of the. Again, this was my thought that they might be well related to the white powder gold kind of thing. They're coming from a real direct cosmic source. Of course, the earth is cosmic too, but the inner earth contains that first matter creation form, which is also what the Chinamati is. So that's where the link is with all of this. And so to continue reading, Thoth first gave me information on the golden jasmine in 1976, but this was before I was illuminated about lithium, so this part was not mentioned until now. At that time, he spoke about another inner earth crystal, which he called lithus blue. Now he tells me that this is the hard version of what heralding refers to as lithium Li, or Li quartz. Although Li quartz is not common on the surface, it is not as rare as golden sea. The Li is the crystal that most lithium with the most lithium content. Thoth has this to say about it. Lithium quartz collects archetypal patterns of mind, building into whole structure mind forms. These mind forms are somewhat like mini archetypes unto themselves. They can be identified as entities, much in the same way as archetypes, in that they are collective sentience, yet not imbued with a soul. Archetypes and mind forms are entities in that they have an ordered thought structure that is activated by ensouled interaction. In other words, contact with an ensouled being brings to life the entity consciousness of the archetype and mind form. There are various types of mind forms, some of which inhabit the giant standing stones of the world, but these mind forms were magically directed into the stones by the wizards of old. There are various types of mind forms, some of which inhabit, I'd read that, okay. Nor is it the, where did I leave off? About something about wizards, I thought. No. Um, yes. In light quartz, the same type of form that is placed in light quartz, the mind form is there through a natural attraction bonding, nor is it the same type of form that is placed in standing stones. The archetypes are the grand design from which all mind forms originate, but mind forms assume identities which can relate to places, persons, and things in a more distinct and personal way than do the archetypes, which are the sentient geometrics of universal design. Now, before we go on, I have this page up here on lithium C, and they're doing structured water with the lithium C crystals. Golden C is the family of spodumite. No, Spodumene, which includes kunzite, hiddenite, and tryphane. While it is classified as kunzite when it's in its pale color, or tryphene, its pale yellow or colorless, is actually quite different in elemental makeup from all of the crystals in the family of spodumene. First, there is more lithium in this stone than any other, and it has 35%. It also contains the rare signature element of gallium. Gallium in combination with high lithium, as well as beryllium, the family of high frequency, blah, blah, blah. And it says, such as emeralds and aquamarine. Golden C is a signature of one-of-a-kind healing energy. There are many crystals in the marketplace being sold as golden C, so buyers beware. These stones are regular kunzite because they do not have the element of gallium in them, and therefore do not have the same healing properties as documented here. So I'm going to include a link to this page that I have up here, if we're to trust this source, and I'm getting a signal to trust it, and it shows how it's created, etc., and what it can do for you. So I'm going to keep this page for a link where I embed the video that I'm making now. Li quartz, or lithium quartz, that is the combination of the lithium and the quartz, was often used, as were many lithium crystals. Now, this is me speaking here, in ancient temples of Lemuria, Atlantis, and other children nations. The Li quartz was thickly layered over pink granite on the columns of the Temple of Senna at Sinai, and it was present also in the Temple of Sin on top of Sinai, as well as within the Ark of Grace, which contained many variant lithium combinations. The lithium quartz acts as a balancer of mind with the individual. It can also be used as a tool to project mental forms, good or bad, remotely. When I contacted Haroldine, she was gracious in sending me the Golden C Li quartz, and also a pretty little pink stone she calls Odd Pink. All of these are gone now, just gone. Really, I have no idea what happened to all the years of transferring crystals from one place to another like I am doing now. You would not believe how many boxes of crystals and suitcases of crystals are coming with to Crestone once again. So this latter, this odd pink, is so rare she only has a handful and knows of no place to obtain more. So I lost it. Great. No gemologist can tell her what it is, only that it contains lithium, several other substances, and 4% of something unknown to the planet. A psychic once told Haroldine that the odd pink came from a mine in Mexico and had been altered by ETs. Thoth confirms this, only says it was UTs, ultra-terrestrials, from the star Trinity, and not extraterrestrials, the star Trinity being Orion, Pleiades, and Sirius. He calls the natural unaltered crystal maladine, and the altered or transmuted version timalidine, as it has been taicho bonded. This is a process of the arcs and involves the Taichon flame, which I mentioned in another issue of the source. Thoth comments on malidine as being under the creative action of the undines, which are nature spirits operating within the humid or liquid ether. Certain undines work with the etheric fluidium, which can be manipulated for such things as interdimensional travel and time travel. The ultra-terrestrials bored a hole through this fluidium at the place where the odd pink was mined, creating a temporary vortex between time frames. The vortex is barely there anymore, but the area was chosen because of the malidine, which aided the process. The malidine was employed for this purpose and was transmuted to timalidine. Thoth states that we could think of timalidine as a time machine, in that it is transmuted. In its transmuted state, malidine contains a record of the proper sequential register for theta, or free association with all time. Under the right conditions, such free association can include physical transference through time, but it is enough, he comments, that timalidine can activate one to flow with time in etheric state, not simply for the thrill of connecting to various time strata, but to reverse cancer cells, breaks in bones, etc. Both malidine and timalidine, he also adds, is very much aligned to the essence of spiritual oneness, since etheric fluidium is the sustaining vehicle for divine love when it is brought into the physical plane via vibration from the heart chakra. Now, I'm going to pause a moment and ask Thoth a little bit more here. He is telling me now that there are ways to access these crystals, since I no longer own an odd pink, but the malidine, the timalidine, and all these energy fields. Like he stated in the book that I wrote of his, the Blue Stone Manual, one can access them etherically, and there are ways to do this. We won't go into this now, but I just wanted to add that little piece. Haroldine also sent me another pink lithium stone. This one is unnamed by her, as she has found only one large chunk, which she had sectioned into smaller pieces. While it has the appearance of marble and agate, it is neither. Again, the gem specialists are baffled. Thoth on this lithium stone, which he calls Marabella. Again, it's one I no longer have. This stone was used in temples such as Senna for floors and sometimes walls, as it is a great insulator from negative energies, unwanted psychic penetration, and such natural phenomena as radon gas and erratic energies produced by sunspots and gravitational irregularities. So that would include, what is it called now? That would include the upsets from the geopathic zones, which is something I'm going to be talking about later, that are natural all over the place. In your room, everywhere are geopathic zones. They're tiny little fine lines, but they upset people and energies in plants. Some plants, cats love them, dogs hate them. People don't prosper well when sleeping over them. And that's a whole other subject, but this would help to align one to that, or to protect one from those interferences. Probably the better term to use. So, Marabella, Thoth says about this stone, other than what he just was saying. Let me find where I left off. The crystallic stone aids regeneration at a cellular level, which is true of all lithium crystals, but with this crystal, the regeneration is especially healing where etheric and sometimes, as a result, physical scarring has taken place. Etheric scarring would be present where the entity had carried over a karmic trauma from a past life, or even in that present lifetime, in the instance of some extreme emotional situation which had left its mark on the etheric and thus often physical body. It is also excellent for the nourishment of the young, especially infants and pregnant women. Thoth says that we shall call this lithium crystal Marabella, which is its Lemurian Atlantean name. Atlantis was the main source for Marabella, and it was Atlantean Marabella that graced many of the floors and much of the interior walls of the Temple of Senna at Sinai. A comment from Thoth on the soft and hard forms of lithium quartz, and from Thoth we hear, while the hard versions of these crystals contain the passages for greater divine fire, access to divine mediums, the softer forms harbor the more mutable properties which can be more easily integrated by the human element. So both forms, soft and hard, are essential for the spiritual development of the human-earth symbiosis. And now here have some more interest on lithium and lithium crystals. To quote Dan Winter from the lithium book, that Heraldine's lithium book, she quotes Dan Winter saying, "Oxygen is the coil of life. Lithium is the light's staff or rod." Describing lithium, Ledbetter says, "Lithium is a striking and beautiful form with its upright cone or spike, its 8 radiating petals at the base of the spike, and the plate-like support in the center, which is a globe upon which the spike rests. The spike revolves swiftly on its axis, carrying the petals with it. The plate revolves equally swiftly in the opposite direction." Now, apparently, Dan Winter is quoting, you remember Ledbetter, I can't think of his first name, way back in the 20s or whatever. And this might be the etheric, how you would see this object as a, this crystal as an etheric vision of it. I'm assuming that because Ledbetter worked with a lot of seeing things like that. Heraldine equates the lithium wand with its dual spin to an ankh of light life. She states that, quote, "Lithium is found widely distributed in the Earth's crust as lithium minerals in deposits, largely silicates of pegmatite, dikes on specific ley lines of the planetary grid surrounding the globe." And that's the end of her quote. But she told me that the Palomar mountain range in California and then on into Mexico is one of the largest deposits of lithium crystals in North America. Both Heraldine and Thoth say that lithium crystals create a geometric of a golden light spiral, which is the passage from the physical to the etheric dimensions. Lithium vibrates to the complete harmonic scale. Lithium absorption via crystals or ingestion give you a natural high, the opposite of depression, but to my knowledge does not space you out, just relaxes and uplifts. Just repeating the word lithium as a mantra over and over can affect you positively. Thoth states that Mount Sinai and the Sinai Desert contained large amounts of lithium. Heraldine writes in her book about the largest mining operation for lithium in the U.S. at Trona, an Egyptian name, in Death Valley. This region bears a striking similarity to the Sinai. Heraldine also writes in her lithium book that the residue product remaining after the hydrogen and oxygen atoms are smashed together under great pressure in the explosion of an atomic bomb is lithium. This fallout was the one good thing the Japanese received from our blasting them in the end of World War II. Heraldine speculates that it gave them that extra element of intelligence they needed to become the wizards of technology they are today. So talk about instant karma dharma. I mean, this horrible thing that the powers that be in the United States decided to do to the Japanese people when they really didn't have to win the war. And all of the awful stuff that happened, the byproduct was giving them these huge amounts of lithium, which is an intelligence building factor. And obviously the Japanese people are very intelligent persons. So this concludes my read and commentary on lithium and lithium crystals. I will be putting links, correlative links below the video if you have an interest to follow up on this amazing thing. And perhaps I'll be doing an update on it in the future from the perspective of the 21st century. But for now, thank you all for listening.